Hello everybody and welcome back, and the party are here in this ruined priest's quarters with its long abandoned beds and tables and bureaus, and most everything has been reduced to dust. And what wasn't reduced to dust is now being reduced to firewood as the party set up a small camp here. There are the two charred bodies of some carrion crawlers which attacked in the middle of the night. And it seems that while the undead have been put to rest, all the slimes and oozes and creepy crawlies that live under the temple are coming up into it. So, there are three choices to explore. There are some stairs which lead downward into darkness. There are some double doors which lead presumably into a mirror image of this area. And then there is some tumble down rocks with a passage behind it. And I think the most obvious one will be to try just the closest. We'll go down these stairs, and if it leads anywhere too difficult or a dead end, well, we can always go back again. So it's time to light the lantern and to go down these steps in formation slowly. And the party round the corner and find that there are more stairs leading even further downward and another corner. And when they get to the bottom of these stairs, they reach a floor, and ahead, north, it opens up into a large chamber. So the party move forward, and in the lamplight, they can see a series of alcoves. And in the back of each alcove is a sarcophagus, the plural of which is sarcophagi. Now in the middle of the floor are piles of ashes, some of which have weapons, and these are the remains of some of the undead which have been put to rest. These were zombies, skeletons, and, well, a white. What does a white disappear into? I don't know, a robe? Semi-transparent robe? Well, we're going to cast the lantern over these alcoves. And, well, the sarcophagi, some of them, the lids have fallen open, and the skeleton inside has become dust. Some of them are intact. Let's have Liz search for a trap before we open one. And she doesn't find any traps, so Donard opens it, and there's this desiccated, mummified figure inside with a long jackal-like face. Perhaps this is the tomb of the high priests which populated this place. But at the end are four extremely impressive sarcophagi, larger than the others and much more ornate. This looks more promising. Right, so there are four of them. Let's roll an 8-sided dice, 2, 4, 6 and 8, to see which one they choose. Let's have Liz search for traps at this one. She certainly doesn't find any. That was a roll of 7, which is very good. And they take the lid off this one and they find, again, another Hutakan mummy, but this one is still wearing its ceremonial robes. But they crumble into dust when they're touched. Let's roll a dice for the other three. 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. Right, okay, the party are going to try and open this one. Liz rolls a 49. That is not good enough to know whether or not she's found any traps. She comes off with a negative, so everybody else is going to trust there are no traps. And so Donard and Carrick heave the lid off this sarcophagus, and inside is a mummy. We have not encountered a mummy to date, so it's time to read up on a new monster. Right, here we are. Mummies are undead who lurk near every deserted ruin and tombs. Every character seeing a mummy must make a saving throw versus paralysis or stop paralysed with fear until the mummy is out of sight. The touch of a mummy causes disease in addition to damage. No saving throw. This hideous rotting affliction prevents all magical healing and slows normal healing to 10% of the normal rate. The disease lasts until magically cured. Mummies can only be damaged by spells, fire or magic weapons, all of which only do half damage. They are immune to sleep, charm and hold. Okay, glad I read up that bit about half damage. I forgot about it. Well, everybody has to make a saving throw versus a paralysis. And I will start with Donard and Carrick, and I'm using the master rule set, or it might have been a companion rule set, where they give saving throw bonuses from other attributes, so strength is taken into account. Donard needs to roll a 10, Carrick needs to roll a 6, the orange dice is Donard, and they both are not paralysed. What about Sylvia and Stephen? Sylvia is the green dice. Well, Stephen saves. What about Sylvia? Yes, she needs an 11, so she saves. But what about the two humans? The Carter family? What about Liz and Malin? Liz is the green dice. Malin makes a save, and Liz is paralysed with fear on the spot. Right, let's roll for initiative. And we get initiative. Good. Now Donard is instantly going to try and turn this thing, and he needs to roll a 7 or more to turn it. It's been some time since we've had an undead high enough that needs a turning throw, so this had better work. And he throws a 10, yes. So with his Begone Foul Dwimmelake, the mummy immediately turns around in its sarcophagus and starts beating down the back panel of it, and it succeeds. And this back panel opens up into a narrow passageway, and the mummy, one thing I didn't read is I didn't read the movement rate. Oh, and it's actually quite slow, so this is a shambling mummy. Whoever strikes it will get a free attack, but on the second turn, the mummy has every right to defend itself, so that will require a normal combat. But as the mummy moves out of sight, Liz is unparalysed. Sylvia is going to throw a flask of oil on it. Let's see if she can hit. Yes, she throws a flask of oil on the mummy. So Carrick is going to light a torch as it shambles along this corridor. He is going to throw the torch onto the mummy's back, which is covered in oil. Or is he just going to thrust it? Yeah, he's going to thrust a flaming torch onto the mummy's back. That will be his free attack, and the next round he will attempt to back off if he gets initiative. That's what Carrick does. He goes forward, he thrusts this burning torch into the back of the mummy as it shambles away, and it does 1d8 rounds of damage for 2 rounds. And that's 10, pretty average. So the mummy is down to 11 HP. Right. It has a fair chance to fight back. Let's roll for initiative. And it does get initiative. And this thing hits like a truck, and it needs a 15 or more to hit Carrick. And it throws a 2. Okay, so Carrick has a chance to either swing or run away, and I think he's going to back off. Actually, let's do some spells first. Let's cast some magic missiles. So Malin is going to magic missile this thing. Ah yes, max damage. That's 7 points off it. It's down to 4. Sylvia is also going to try and magic missile it. Oh, and she throws a 6 despite missing the dice box. And yes, this mummy is dead. And we have used up our magic missiles. That's how you handle a mummy. So we're going to go back to the sarcophagi. Well, Liz is already there looking for any treasure, and the treasure in this sarcophagi is actually very good. Inside the sarcophagus is a jeweled orb, value 3,500 gold pieces, a pearl encrusted scepter, value 6,500 gold pieces, and a silver needle still trailing a length of golden thread. And well, we already have one of these magical silver needles, but that's 10 grand's worth of jewellery. That's quite an XP dump, and in fact, the next time the party rest, I think there might be some exciting developments. Well, there is nothing more exciting than a passage that's twisty and winding, and sure enough, this passage goes ever downward, and the party, in their lamplight, follow it. In fact, Carrick is at the front with the torch, and eventually, as they go round the corner, the smell becomes ever more noxious. And it should be apparent to everybody at this stage that this is the same smell that comes up from the Karatoba pit, and that we smelt whenever we've encountered the Karatoba. So yes, I think we've found our way into the Karatoba lair. I think it would be better to go backward, back into the main temple, and to explore either these doors here or this pile of rubble here. Okay, well, according to the rules, this little encounter would have taken us up to almost midday, so by the time we get back into this temple, it is the middle of the day, and we will probably have one more encounter before bedtime, so the party will stop for a second while they decide do they want to go through these doors or investigate this tunnel. So the party are in the main hall, and they've got a choice of going through this pile of rubble into a dark corridor or walking through two ornate doors. And I think the doors seem the most sensible, since it is likely that this temple will be somewhat symmetrical. So I will have Liz listen at these doors. She doesn't hear anything, so the party walk in, and they find themselves in, as expected, a room very similar to this one here. It has got a ceremonial bowl in the middle, which has long dried up and covered in dust. There are several shelves with robes that when touched fall to dust. And this, well, we try to deduce what it is. This is what they call a robing room. So before any priests made any ceremonial gestures towards the god Flower, they would have dressed and prepared themselves in this room, and likely that room. There are two more double doors going westward. Let's listen for anything. And again, we don't hear anything, and in our usual formation, we push these doors open, but alas, something happens. The doors are trapped with a flash of blinding light, and this light is blinding everybody within 15 feet. Now that excludes Malin, as he was at the back holding the lamp, but it will include everybody else. They all have to make saving throws versus spells or be blinded. I will throw for Liz and Donard. I'll have Liz as the orange dice. She needs a 16. She would need a 15, but she's got a -1 wisdom penalty. Donard would need a 13, but he has a +3. So Liz is the orange dice. She fails and Donard fails, so they're struck blind. Sylvia needs an 11, Carrick needs 12. Carrick is the orange dice. Sorry, I got that wrong. Carrick needs a 10, Sylvia needs an 11, so Carrick saves. And lastly, we have Stephen, who needs a 14. And he succeeds, so two of our fighters and our mage are okay, and they are blinded for 1d4 plus 2. 4 hours. Okay. Do we go forward? No, actually. We're not going to risk it. This is madness. We don't know what's in this room, and we don't want to go forward, and we have no idea how long this blindness will last. I think everybody will come to the conclusion that the best thing to do is to guide our blind friends back to this room here and rest up and just hope that this wears off during the night. It will actually wear off much sooner than that. It will wear off not long after they drift off to sleep. Obviously, they can't keep watch. So that is the day's adventuring over with, as we guide 3 of our members back to the deserted priest's quarters to rest up. Right, okay. Well, we'll take it from there and see what happens tomorrow. Right, so the party are camping here for the night, a bit sooner than they thought, simply because we have some party members who are blind. And, well, I was correct about the XP dump. The 10,000 gold's worth of treasures found here, including some good XP for the mummy. And I did forget to mention last time that when the ritual is performed, every party member is given 500 XP. So that is another nice little bonus. In fact, that extra 500 XP was just enough to push Sylvia and Malin over the threshold for their next level. They're not strictly speaking in a safe enough environment to level up, but they are having a rest and sleeping overnight, so I will do a level up, but they won't get some of the benefits of it. I think that would be the best way to do it. Well, of course, let's talk about this level up for a bit. Sylvia moves up to level 5, which means she now gets to cast level 3 spells. And if I look at her little spell book here, she has got Fireball on a scroll, which tomorrow morning when she wakes up, she can scribe into her book, but she does not know the spell for today. That's the kind of caveat that I'm putting on this level up. They will roll for extra hit points, they will get any THAC0 benefits if there are any, but they won't be able to cast extra spells and things like that. So Sylvia will scribe Fireball into her book tomorrow at some stage, and the DM has to give her another one, and I think she tends to be more the utilitarian spellcaster, so I think water breathing is the one that I will give her, though in this environment she probably will use her Fireball, so that makes Sylvia incredibly powerful because she's quite nifty with the bow. Malin has quite a few level 3 spells. He's got Fireball, Haste and Lightning Bolt, and I think after seeing Golthor zipping around the place, I'm tempted to go for Fly, but I think this one, Invisibility 10 feet radius, that looks, well, from playing computer games, that's also a really beneficial one. And speaking of the Baldur's Gate computer games, that's where I learned 2nd edition from. And in that one, Magic Missile levels up quite quickly. You start with 1, then you get 2 at level 3, 3 at level 5, and eventually 5 at level 9. The missiles do 1d4 plus 1, as opposed to this version where they do 1d6 plus 1. But you will have noticed that Malin is level 5 and he's still only casting 1 missile. Well, at level 6, that jumps up to 3, and I will just confirm that. For every 5 levels of experience of the caster, 2 more missiles are created by the same spell. Thus, 6th level magic user may create 3 missiles. So that does jump up quite a lot, and that would end up being 5 at level 11. So the one thing he will notice that will take him by surprise is that when he casts Magic Missile, 3 of them will fly out from his fingertips, not just 1. However, he also gets an extra 3rd level spell to cast, but again, he won't be able to do that today because this level up is kind of taken him by surprise. The other thing about Malin's level up is that his THAC0 drops to 15, which makes him one of the lowest in the party, and if you look at the THAC0 table, the Mage THAC0 progression is really it's not what you would expect. I will be adjusting his THAC0 for this morning, his Magic Missiles will adjust for this morning. He won't get any extra spells to learn today, but he will get some extra XP, and he is currently on 14. He gets no constitution bonuses, and he rolls 1d4, and just out of curiosity, yes, he is just slightly above the average, which would be around 13, so let's see if he gets above average or below. And that's a 2, I think that's him up to 16, which I think the average would be 15, so yeah, he's doing well. Sylvia, however, is not doing well. She gets a +1 constitution bonus, so she has rolled 13 out of 4d6, and you would expect an average of 14. She's slightly below that. And she still remains slightly below that. She is up to 20, but she does get her Fireball spell for tomorrow, not today. Her THAC0, her saving throws, none of those things change for her. So that is the situation that the party will awake in next day. Our elf and our magic user will feel slightly invigorated, though they haven't really gotten all the benefits of that yet. God, correction there. Sylvia's hit points are 21. I forgot about the +1 constitution bonus. Well, let's see what this new day brings and see if we can't finish off the symmetrical half of this layer. So the party have woken up with a slightly improved version of Malin and Sylvia. Even though they've cleared out this place once, the party are still aware that there are other creatures around, and so they are still moving through here at the expected speed of 60 feet every 10 minutes. They're holding the lamp up, casting it over the walls and the ceilings, looking for things to drop on them. Giant critters, oozes. This large chamber here, the central temple, is extremely eerie. It has got a high vaulted ceiling, and the blue flames create their own light, And with the Hutakan priests gone, it is deathly quiet as they make their way around this dark, silent temple. And they are going to explore this last bit here. These doors were trapped, everybody got blinded. So Liz is going to search for traps. She doesn't find any, so we're going to assume this trap has been sprung. So obviously somebody has to open the door, and everybody just sort of looks at Carrick with the expectation that he will shrug and say, "Oh well, it's always the dwarf." Sure enough, he pushes the door open while everybody else stands to one side, and it swings open just fine. And the party walk into what is a very ancient and dusty library. The walls are lined with shelves, and on the shelves are stacked up scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. This is a very ancient library that seems to have sort of existed long before the invention of the book. So if you can imagine, it's just a series of alcoves with scrolls rolled up in them. Now we're told that any scholar or magic user who wants to spend several hours here can find out all they want to know about the history of the Hutakans. And of course Malin goes, "Please, please, please, can we stay? Please, pretty please." But the others shake their heads. This is not what is going to happen. There are doors to the north. Our thief listens at those doors and she's quite confident she doesn't hear anything. Well, we're going to search for traps. And again, she's quite confident there are no traps. So we open the door. Though actually we is Carrick still. Carrick opens the door. Everybody else hangs around here. And they open up into yet another chamber, which is the mirror image of this one. It's another priest's quarters. There are broken beds, broken tables, and other bits of furniture. There's an old wardrobe that has tattered, mouldy robes in it, and a layer of dust everywhere. Again, the party poke around using the tips of their swords or a staff, knock over things, make sure no spiders or snakes are going to leap out at them. And nothing does. But however, this wall here is another broken wall of rubble and boulders which has fallen down. Carrick has enough indoor or subterranean sense of direction to think that this pile of boulders and this one may be linked, and there is kind of passage between these. So the party have nothing to do but to go back to here and pull away a couple of boulders and clear away here. This will take us to mid-afternoon. By the time we got here, it was lunchtime. And they're searching and looking and examining, treating this place with a bit more wonder than, well, I am here. But regardless, they get back to here, and there is clearly a passage behind here, so they're going to start pulling away the rubble. If you remember, it was some ghouls that started this endeavour as they try to scramble away from Donard. And eventually, this opens up into a diagonal passageway heading northwest. And sure enough, by our lamplight, something is there. Now what is it? This is a corpse dressed in some very fine plate mail armour, and this corpse is clutching a golden bowl, and the golden bowl seems very like one of the golden bowls in this room that was used for washing hands, so it seems to be of some kind of ceremonial importance. This person is likely to have treasure on them, or maybe a map, or maybe a good reason as to why they are here, because they don't look like an Hutakan, they don't even look like a Traldar. This looks like a human being who has been here for thousands of years before, presumably, this valley was considered lost. So that armour is in remarkably good nick for something so old. So naturally the party walk up, and lo and behold, rising up from this corpse is a Wraith. Now the Wraith rose up because it sensed us. It clearly can surprise us. Were we surprised? We weren't. So let's roll for initiative. And we get initiative. Right, this Wraith is dead. We aren't going to use any arrows as we need to preserve those, but we have magic spells, and of course, a magic spell is Turn Undead is one. Donard can automatically turn a Wraith, so that's a done deal. The Wraith runs screaming around this corner, seems to want to clamour to get away from Donard by scratching at this wall. We've got two other spells. As it flees, Sylvia is going to cast her magic missile. She does 4 points. This Wraith is down to 12. And Malin is going to cast his magic missile. And sure enough, to the shock of him and everybody, he shoots 3 of them. And he does 9 damage plus 3 is 12. And that is enough to destroy that Wraith. Well done, Malin. So we've used up the 2 magic missiles for the day. So we're going to go up and we're going to examine this corpse. And sure enough, that plate mail armor looks extremely regal, almost like it was made for a prince. This is something special that we're going to take. But also, he has got gem-studded platinum star of flower. This is the same amulet that the priestess wore. And also, that's worth 2,000 gold. And also, there's a potion of levitation. Well, there's a potion. We don't know what it is yet. More importantly, there's a scroll, and it's a cleric scroll, and it has cure serious wounds. That will come in useful. Raise dead. Now that's going to foreshadow something. How useful will that be? And remove curse. And just for reference, the book describes this corpse as a priestess of Hutaka. I've reworked that to being a more older corpse. So let's see what happens next. Well, the party continue on up the corridor and it comes to a dead end, but the Wraith was clearly trying to escape somewhere, so that gives us a good clue that there might be a secret door. We'll have Liz and Sylvia look for secret doors. And they don't find anything. Are they going to bother looking for more? Yeah, it's going to take us into the afternoon. Let's try one more time, and if they don't find anything, we're just going to call it a day. Ah, and indeed, they do find the secret door. Liz is definitely going to search it for traps. She doesn't find anything. So everybody stands back and looks at Carrick, and he says, oh, okay. He borrows the staff of healing and uses it to push these doors open. And the party find themselves in another abandoned room with another broken rock wall here in this corner. And yes, this is more of the priest's quarters. So, while there isn't much to do, we think we have cleared out this entire temple. But have we? Who can tell? There is the passage downward here, but that clearly leads to the Karatoba, or at least the smelly layer underneath the temple. Are we going to go back? Yeah, I think we're going to go back again for a third night, and we do have to watch our rations, but we're going to sleep again, and this will be a chance for Malin and Sylvia to learn some of their new spells. And I think Malin is going to have a haste and a fireball, and Sylvia is going to have a fireball. So I will add those to the spell list. Let's begin a new part of this adventure next time. It has been mentioned on several occasions that Malin's curiosity will be the death of him. Well, something might happen tonight when they go to sleep, and we'll see if that prediction comes true. And I will see you then.